Today we're going to install a 12K 115 volt mini split unit inside this small Quonset hut here. He's got an insulated grate. You'll see the wall it's going up on at the other end. He's got the wall all prepped for me, and we're going to begin installing. When I put this up, I originally went through the holes that were identified with arrows. I did that so when I put the next plate up there, I'll put it in the exact same spot so it lines up just like the pattern did. You'll see extra holes everywhere. You can use those, but I started with the ones that had the actual arrows on them. Here's the thimble coming through the wall, which is what the line sets are going to come through the wall so they don't get cut up. This thimble's a protection in there. I'm going to mark it so I can cut it off flush with the building. I'm just going to pull it out so it's snug, and I'm going to trace a circle around this. And I'll push it back through the other side and cut it off. All right, I put the thimble in, and once I cut it, as you can see, I've reduced it down to the thickness of the wall. Put that in place. And this hole should always drain at a slight angle to the outside so the water will continue to fall. When I set this up, I originally drilled my holes out. And now I'm setting the level on here. I want to drain to the right because that's where my line sets are going out. If they were going to the left, I'd want to drain left. But I want all water to fall to the outside. So I'm going to have this up slightly. So I'm going to go perfectly level and then raise up a little bit on the left-hand side, forcing it out the right side. So this is where I want to set my screws. Since I have a solid piece of wood, 4 screws will be fine in this one. If you don't have a solid piece behind you, then sometimes I place some more screws throughout it, just as a precaution, to balance out the weight. These systems don't weigh very much. The air handlers are pretty light. And that's more than enough. Now I'm going to grab the air handler. I'm going to push the lines through and hang it up here. And then all the work will be on the outside until I'm ready to come back inside. As you see, this was our pattern. We went through with the hole. We did dead center, drilled it out, came back in. We knew where the holes were going to go for the initial alignment because we had this up here and drew the holes originally, so the pattern was set. I knew exactly where this would go. And that keeps everything flowing for you. So when I crawled down from the ladder, I took my bit off. It's a 3.5 inch bit. I had to pull all these units out. I pulled each one out. This was my cardboard. This is the wood I went through. This is some of the insulation that was behind. And this is the plate from the outside, the metal. That's how thick we ran through, and that was what our thimble went through this. So now we're ready to hang the air handler. All right, I'm preparing the air handler to be pushed through the thimble. And what I'm doing first is untwisting these wires on here. So the line set will push through, or so the next, these copper wires are on the back, and I need to bring them out so that they go through the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to massage them gently to move them so that there's no issues of kinks or anything. You don't want to get too rapid with these. You don't want to push too much on them. And you want to always check and make sure everything's okay. They already have a wire protection around them to keep them from kinking. But just from past experience, I just go very gently with them just to make sure I don't have any issues. All right, and these are all prepped and ready to go through the wall. So I'll toss this over my shoulder or under my arm here for a moment. When I get up on top, I'm going to be pushing this inside through the hole and aligning I don't know why that piece pulled out a little bit. And then I'll be lining these up. These little clamps on the top is where it'll hook on the bracket. And then on the bottom, you'll see down here these little notches right in here. These are notches that will clamp when it hooks into the wall at the bottom of the plate. So let's climb on up there and put this in place. All right, so I'm gonna push this wire through. The thimble's in place. All this wire will drop to the outside. This is the communication line that's gonna hook up to the condenser outside the unit. Now if you notice, and I don't know if you can see this, but the bottom of this thimble is a flat piece. You want that flat piece to be on the very bottom. That way when the air handler is in place, it cannot be seen. Position myself here, angle this over a little bit. Now these things all have to go through together. All right, so these are going through right now. And I'm lowering this down into position there. Okay, I've got these lined up right over top my little hooks. And I just secured it into place. Take off this tape, get this thing set up. Lift this up so I know to remember to come back to it. And this portion of the inside is taken care of. On the outside, I'm going to run this thimble through. Nothing worse than having this all hooked up together and then realizing you forgot to put this piece on. If you did, you just have to take a knife, cut it open, put it around, and seal it back in, because it's happened before. So it's good to remember to put this thing on before you get too far. Fits up against the wall. The drain line always needs to be underneath everything, because remember, the water has to run downhill. And again, I'm going to massage this thing down. I'm not going to force it. I'm going to take my time, go gently to point it in the down position. Here's our two line sets that'll hook up to the condenser. This is our drain, bringing the water out of the evaporator inside, or the air handler. It's going to help it to drain out. When we get done, we'll have these all wrapped up. Everything will be tightened up together. Now we're going to set up and prepare for the condenser. All right, so what we've got so far is our line coming down from the back. Plan is to run our line set, refrigerant line set, down the back and across and then into the condenser. So I've got to find a spot here to level out. I've got a hurricane pad to set on the back for the condenser to set on. It'll be bolted to this to secure it for high wind or storms. We need to be at least 12 inches away from the building for good airflow. So we're going to start leveling that now and figuring out what we have to do. All right, we've got the pad on. Everything looks good. All right, we've got everything set on here. I don't know if it's front or back. I'll probably have to swing it around, but we have it setting up on the pad. All right, unbox this. I've cut the strings. I've got our thimble kit. I already had one. That's why I was able to start initially with this. Otherwise, you'll have to take your box apart to get it out because it comes packaged in this unit instead of with the air handler where you need it. All right, so we've got all that. We're going to set these off to the side for a moment. This is a flex drain line that you can use. There's nothing wrong with using these. I haven't been real impressed with them, but they will flex around things. If you have to go around corners or get around anything in the house, you can use something like this. Then either run it into a PVC or just hook directly. This one here, I'll hook directly into a PVC instead of using this. So a lot of times I end up discarding this when I get it. Now I've got the line set on here. This comes in a package without the outer plastic wrapping. So I'm gonna have to wrap this in UV tape. So I'm gonna be doing that here in just a moment. It's gonna be inside of a line guard kit already, but I still wanna do some wrapping on it just to protect everything. All right, I'm gonna take this apart and spin it around. As you can see in the shipping and the vibration, some of these will come apart. So if this happens and you need to run your line sets through walls or underneath something, always put these caps on to protect your line sets so you don't get dirty like that. All right, spin this around. On the top, they put a little symbol here that says front. That means away from the building. Front, that means it's going to be blowing out the exhaust. So that's where we're at now. Comes with some little rubber feet to help cut down some of the vibration. Normally it's used on metal racks when you hang them, but I don't have a problem with hanging them up anyway. Comes with a wrench to turn on the valve system for the Freon or the refrigerant because it's already locked in place, inside, sealed up, because this is a DIY. So when you hook it all up, then you can open up the valves and allow the refrigerant to flow through the system. This uses an R410A. And now I'm going to gently take it off of this box. I've got a little handle here, and I've got a little one here. This system is light enough I can do this on my own. Some of the systems are bigger. It's going to be more difficult to do by yourself. It's easier to have somebody come over and invite them over for a beer to help you set it down. Put it down first, then let them have the beer afterwards, because otherwise you may run into some problems. So if you see on the back here, you're going to see all these holes in the back of this unit on the base plate, on the foot plate. This is where I'm going to put the screws and bolt it into this concrete pad so it doesn't vibrate and wiggle around. As you can see, it does now. Once it's bolted down, I'll put some tap cons into it. It'll hold it in place. Nothing will move. All right. Remember I talked about these caps coming off and shipping. Sometimes they vibrate loose. So I'm going to put it back on here just to protect the inside so we don't get any dirt or any moisture or anything inside the airflows. So, these here are on snug. Good. All right. I'm going to gently bring these out. You'll notice when you see these, you've got one end that has less insulation on it. The way I plan this out, you don't have to do it this way. The way I plan this out, I put this at the end where the air handler is, because this is where I have the most room to flex these around and move them into position where I need them. This end here is going to be up and down the wall. This is going to be up in the air, hooked to that unit up there. And then I'm going to spiral down to this bottom plate. So let's get started on that. See, roll these out. This comes with a 25-foot line set. All right, so right now this is where I'm starting. I'm going to begin with this end here. Once I'm vinyl wrap up, there's always a hole in the bag. As you can see, in the shipping, this one got busted. So not everything is going to come perfect, that's for sure. But if you have an issue like that and you needed that piece, all you have to do is call MrCool or get a hold of us and we'll help you get that part shipped to you. So now I'm going to begin. This is a UV tape, an ultraviolet protection tape. In case any sunlight gets into it or some of the heat, it'll help protect the styrofoam, help protect it. I should be starting at the bottom and working my way up, but this happens to be the end I'm at right now. It's in my hand. But this is all going to be behind a down line guard set, protection kit. So, and the reason they start at the bottom instead, or they should start at the bottom, is if you look at this, come in close and look at this, you'll see if it was raining, the water would run all the way down, would never go back inside. The way I have it set up, it could possibly get inside. But I'm going to have the line guard kit over the top of this, and that's going to prevent that from happening because the water should not even be in there. This is just a protective coating, is all this is going to serve as. And they gave me 3 of these, and it will probably take 3 of these to wrap up one of these 25-foot sets. I'm going to go out front and get some oils. All right, since I'm using the R410, the oil that works best with this one is a polyester. So what I'm going to do is, I found that I put just a little bit on the seals, just a little bit on the seals and a little bit on the inside. These seem to slide on a whole lot easier. And you can't mix these up. One's big, one's small, so you don't have to worry about getting the wrong ones on there. You just want to be gentle about how you do things. And you notice I'm offsetting these slightly because that's the way it's going to work. That one's going to be off slightly. Now because this oil, and this lubricant in particular, attracts moisture, I don't keep it open very often. My fingers are clean, and I'm rubbing a little bit in on the seal just to help it so when it slides in, because these are pressure fittings, not puncture. These are pressure. So if something was to go wrong and I need to change out a line set, I could basically just disconnect the line sets and the pressure would hold. I want to make sure the machine's off, of course, but putting just a little bit of oil on these threads, it'll just make it so much easier when I start threading these on. When you thread them on, you want to be gentle and make sure that you go on straight before you apply any pressure or any wrenches. You want these to go on straight, and sometimes you've got to manipulate them a little bit to get them to work just right. So, here's one. Moving it around. Sometimes it'll seem like it takes forever to get it started. I got that one pretty well started. I'll go ahead and finish him up. I do have a cap on my oil. I've also noticed that in shipments, sometimes these initial line sets do not seed well, so I double check and make sure they're on snug first. Just like those little caps that vibrated loose, after they travel on a ship or across the country in a semi, it's easy for them to come undone. So I'm just going to gently put these together. This can be the most time consuming, along with wrapping things up with that tape. Make sure it's just right. Sometimes you'll hear a little bit of release of the refrigerant inside the line. That's okay. It's going into it. Should you ever get these sets put on completely, you turn the system on and it doesn't, and the lines are not heating up on the smaller side and cooling down on the larger side, then you probably have a valve that's not open. And what I do is take these back apart and then redo them, because sometimes that's all it takes, is that seal just did not get set in there just right. All right, if you don't have a torque set with you, put them as tight as you can. I'm not talking about ripping them off the wall and proving you're a muscular man. I'm talking about put them together snugly, tightly, so you won't have a leak. And if you don't have a leak detector, you really need to at least buy a $12 or $16, whatever it is, leak detector.
Amazon.
What?
From Amazon.
That's right, from Amazon. You can get a leak detector kit and use that. But you definitely want to make sure you don't have any leaks. Now right now this is just refrigerant in it that was already in the air handler and refrigerant that's in this line set. Usually right on this one is when I hear some. I'll hear a slight release. Okay, and I want to make sure I got my top ones closed up here. Make sure there's no issues there. These are the ones that can vibrate in shipping. Yep, and they're pretty snug. I'm good with that. We do have a rainstorm coming today, so we're trying to get this done before the rainstorm comes. All right, we're almost there. All right. That's all hooked up. Drain line's at the bottom. It's going to run out the lower side. Go down here and get my tester. Make sure we're good there. I'm done with the oil up top. I'll be using that down here at the bottom here in a moment. Set these on top so as not to scratch up the equipment. Now this kit costs a little bit more than the $16, but this one tends to work a little better than those also because I use them continually. So we'll come up here and we'll double check. This one has a clearing, so it's clearing the system out and making sure everything's okay before I get started. We're about 12 seconds left. All right, here we go. You can hear it beeping. Oh, you hear that? I've got a little leak right in here. Okay, so what I have to do is get my wrenches. And I'm going to take these, loosen them up a little bit. Sometimes they just don't seat right, like I said, when you put them on, you back them off a few cranks. And then you can put them back on. And for some reason, they tend to work perfectly. There's on snug there. I'm going to tighten her up a little bit. Still got a little noise there. Moving out this bottom. Okay, let me double check that one.
I'm gonna taping.
This adds a little extra insulation. Try and keep the temperature the same when it's going in or out of this building, so we don't lose any energy or lose much energy. Use zip ties on here to tighten them up. I'll overlay this over the styrofoam that's already there. There's an insulation pad, little noodles.
And this all comes with the kit.
These all come in the kit, except for the zip ties. You don't get these zip ties. The zip ties are like screws. They've become expensive. Very expensive. I'll just go back with my scissors, clean these up. Boom, boom, and boom. Put these in the trash. And my drain goes underneath. Now I had some little glue putties. Let me find them. It doesn't like being outside. There.
Okay.
I've got these little putties that come in the kit in a little rectangular shaped white package. I put these in there initially, and what I'll do now is go get some foam, some seal a crack foam, and shoot that in just to seal this up, keep any bugs out, and also add a temperature barrier there, thermal barrier to keep temperature constant. All right. We're adding some of the Great Stuff gaps and cracks foam. I'm going to shoot this on in there. Once you get this on your hand, it doesn't come off for a while, and that'll all push out, so I'm going to leave it just like it is right there, slightly inside. As it dries, it'll come out.
It's on.
Make sure I'm coming straight down the wall.
This is the line guard set that doesn't come with the kit. You purchase it separately. And this is how you would put it on.
Okay, I need the side of the drill. About that level over there on your right hand side. I tried to make this straight up and down. Go like that. Yep. Oopsie. Back in there. Back in the groove. Each one of these has like a little groove they can fit in, and I'm trying to stay right in there. And I'll alternate screws as I come down. I'm not going to put them all in here. I'm just going to alternate on the way down. There's about 2 foot. I'll go in between here and put one on this side now to even this out. If I can get to it. Secure on both sides. All right. This comes with a package of screws. I left the screws out on the truck. I'll get them here in just a moment. But this will go over the top like this. It's in place, and then I can hook my wire line inside here, right beside this, coming down the wall. And they'll all be covered in nicely, protected. So. All right, we talked earlier about connecting these up instead of putting this on the flex hose. This is what I do. I take PVC. It doesn't have to be scheduled 40. None of this is under pressure. It would just happen to be convenient, and that's what I bought. I put a connector at the top, and I glue it on the top just to make sure it's sealed in there. And then I'll put a little EMT connector underneath. I'll slide this inside. And I'll tuck this in here to screw it in. Now you want to make sure, and the reason I put that EMT connector on there so kids or somebody or mowers don't come by and bump that and knock this loose and you've got water draining everywhere. So that's why I put this little kit in there first. So now that I've got that in, I've got enough slack to go in there for my extension. I get my screw started here and screw into this metal, one on each side just to hold it in place. All right, so we'll hook the neutral up. I don't have any white with me now, but I do have to come back and mark this in white. And I'll be back tomorrow. Because this one is a 4th gen and the leg sizes are a little bit different than the 3rd gen. So I have some white tape with me then. And I will mark this thing white so that everybody knows that that is not a positive. Huh. That's a funky screwdriver. All right, and as you recall up here, we had black on black, and that's going to be our positive. The red and black down here match up. Became the neutral. These right here, the white and the red, so that would have been 2 reds is what that would have equated to. So the 2 reds equated to neutral, and the black was positive. So that is the load, L. Sides are right in there perfectly. You get a different screwdriver. I don't like that one. There we go. This one here will work much better. Oh yeah, I like that better. All right, here's another. Now the communication line. Communication comes through here. MrCool is really good because they number them and match things up for you. If you were to change it, as long as they both match at the other end, it doesn't really matter. Let's get these all pulled up so I can get a hold of them. Get this tool in there. For some reason it doesn't want to slide in. Ah, it's caught on the black wire, that's why. There we go. Okay. Now, clamp on there. We've got our ground here. So MrCool, as you can see, has numbers on them. They make it as simple as possible for anyone to be able to do. If you have a little bit of mechanical inclination. You see here they have 1, 2, 3, and then green is ground. As you can see, I clipped mine off to make a shorter line. So I clipped them off. I know their pattern. Their pattern for 1, 2, 3 is red, white, and black. Red being power, white being power, and black being communication, and green being ground. So let's hook them up that way. Red on 1, because I know that's what's hooked up on the inside. And yes, I did physically check.
Always.
Mm-hmm. So red on 1, white. Twist them up 2 turns, makes it easy. Red, white. Sometimes I use pin nose pliers to hold these. I'm going to open it up just a little bit more. Red, white. And hold them up in there because they will slide out on you. They're slippery little guys. Red, white, and black. All right. And 1, 2, 3. Red, white, black. Black is the communication. If I can just get him up in there. I was telling you about using pin nose pliers. I'll get a pair out. I'll show you how I do that because this one's being a little tricky with me. I just grab a hold of him, set him down in there, and maneuver him up to fit in there. Slide in there. Come on. You can do it. Come on. Doesn't want to cooperate. Let's open him up a little more. Now we'll get him in there. There it is. Now he's in there. I just hold him in there with my pliers while I tighten him up. All right, so those are all hooked up, and then you go, oh man, I forgot the ground. Sometimes it's easier to work backwards. Start with the ground, start from left to right and work your way around. If I'd have left this ground off, I could have gotten to it easier. But since I have the open spade on it, or a horseshoe spade, I'm going to fit right on that ground right there. I'll bring this one across. And use my pliers the heck with it. I'm going to do it this way. Take this grout back off. Keep it simple. Work easy, not hard, I tell the guys. Work easy. Work smart. Work smart, not hard. So, here's my ground. And we're on this side, so we'll just slide right up in there. The ground's on there, and I'll just tighten them up. Just spending the afternoon fighting with that, it's easier to do it this way. Then I can go back to my ground again. Slide that one back in place. Bada bing, bada boo. All right, we're there. All the wires are now connected. So, now it's time to hook up some line sets. Alright, now these lines are tricky. You always want to do these by hand just to make sure you get them on there, right? Make sure it's going on right. Always start them by hand. Don't start with a wrench. You'll strip something will go wrong. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but when it's ready to go on, it'll go on. Just have faith in it. I think that one started. That one has started. Nice. Sometimes you just have to wiggle them around a little bit. Now, in shipping, these things tend to loosen up and vibrate loose. So I always take just a little snug. You don't want to do this one at the bottom. Always do the one at the top, because there's another little rubber seal down in here that you can bust. So again, I'm going to tighten it up right out here near the end. Just make sure it's snug. Make sure it's snug, because I don't want any leaking. So that one's started. Now we're going to put the liquid line or high pressure line on. Same thing, I'm just going to kind of finesse it, wiggle it until I know it's starting to thread on. This one's going on nicely. Beautiful. I know they're on there. These have spring-loaded lines, so when they open up, it releases whatever charge may be in this line into here, and from here into here. But we still have to open these valves up, the service valves down here, and allow some refrigerant into the line system. These are kind of pre-charged, so there's some already in it. Sometimes I check for leaks before I put any charge into it, because I know there's some in the line system already. I'm just going to do this till it comes up and butts up against the next one, and we'll get my other wrench. These have torque specifications, but if you just put them snug to each other, when you check for leaks, you have no leaks, you'll be all right. But if you have a torque wrench, follow the instructions. I just snug them up really good, and that's it. Don't try and Superman it. Just snug them up till they're really tight. close, because I can physically see it tightening up right here. Getting closer anyway. Now, put it on our second wrench so we don't twist anything off down here. Snugging it up, okay? So snug. Now, everything appears to be hooked up. And you would think, run inside, turn the power on. But that's not the right thing to do yet. We still have refrigerant we have to release into the system. And that. This is a Elitech. This is a infrared refrigerant leak detector, as it says. It does a little self-test. When it gets down and gets completed, little sensors will pop up. It'll start beeping, just let you know it is working. If you get into refrigerant leak, you're going to have lots of beeping. So we're just going to test down here where we're at. Okay, so far we've got nothing. Like I said, I'm checking this now because we already have refrigerant in our line system. So we're going to add some more. We're going to put some pressure on it. Taking these off. I don't know if you can see down inside there. I don't know if you can see down inside there to see these valves. Right now they're front seated. And I'm going to back seat these out. Okay, refrigerant going through. It's been released. Now, you can twist this out until it stops. It stopped, and just that you don't want to go any further than that, because what you could end up doing is busting that seal at the end. It's out there at the end. Now, we know it's under pressure. I'm going to go ahead and put our power on. Set this in there first. Now, all right, so we put our safety panel back in place, and we have our power in there. We'll make sure we have the correct voltage. Make sure we have any voltage. It may have been turned off with the breaker inside and we don't know about it. So let's see what we got going on. Simple tester, but I really like it because it's got a magnet on it. And I can stick it right up there so I can see it. So let's see if we got any leaks down here now. Okay, we're under pressure. That's good. No leaks. Now sometimes if you get near the styrofoam has a quality that acts like a refrigerant, and it'll start beeping. So just be aware of that. Okay, so I'm not showing any leaks. Let's go ahead and check our power. Let's see if we've got any power here. So we're going to voltage. And we're going with number 1 and number 2. It says we've got 121 volts. So now if you want to check to make sure that this system is communicating with the inside air handler, you go to DC. I'll put it on DC. I'm going to test DC. And you're going to notice right here, I'm not sure what that says, but you're going to see it goes negative every once in a while. You see that negative? It's going to flip through a bunch of numbers. And it's going to rotate back and forth, kind of like it's communicating. It's open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. It's like sending signals and receiving some. So I'm going to put 1 on number 2 and 1 on number 3. This is your communication line. Now, if you look up here at the top, I see everything is on negative. So that tells me the power inside is not ready yet, and it's not communicating. So we're going to see what happens here. Okay. All right, so the system's on, it's running. It did a little self-test, a self-analysis. Everything checked out, so it is started up. It has begun. We're all done here. Another fine MrCool product. 12K, 115 volt, very nice. Easy to install. Hope this helped. If you have any questions about some of the silly stuff that goes on with these, it's a start. If you have any questions, you can always give us a call also. That's Skyway Heating and Air, 941-500-4414 or 866-500-4414. We'll try and answer the questions the best we can and help you out. If you're having any problems with MrCool, maybe we can help you figure that out and get you in a communication with them.
And the final product, MrCool. 12K single zone. Comes with a 25-foot line set. This is the 4th gen, which is a lot smaller than the 3rd gen. And it runs like a champ. Check out our website at skywayacservice.com.